Hey,
Hello, hello. We're good.
Hello.
Okay, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are and whenever you're watching this. Welcome to our weekly Zoom call. Today is really just a conversation, kind of what we always envision for this call, like the view, and we're the gorgeous goddesses. We're not Whoopi Goldberg or, Barbara Walters who started it, whatever, but here we are, and we're all over the country today just to have a conversation about all the stuff that's going on now as an accumulation and sort of a really intense time. I think we're all going to, in our conversations, just share how we're doing and how some of this has been affecting us. So it was really just to get a little thought and conversation happening around how is everyone doing, and sharing our little coping techniques when we have them. I have to say, just to start out the conversation, and you guys will probably all agree because we've been talking about it already, this has been an interesting week and rather tough. A lot of comments that we've been discussing around just the heaviness of the energy of all the crazy situations that have been going on, the protests, the lack of information and conflicting information, questioning all kinds of stuff that's happening right now, and how do we stay positive in the midst of feeling really heavy. I think that's the word I can describe. All week I've been just feeling really heavy, and for me it was really about just recognizing that and honoring it. And I had a course that I taught Tuesday morning and yesterday morning for 5 hours each day, which in and of itself, when I do that, is quite tiring. And doing it on Zoom, which, being in front of the computer, I don't think it's for any of us, it's our favorite thing to do. And I slept for 2 hours yesterday afternoon. And I was fortunate that I could do that. And, we're not going anywhere or doing anything much yet still. So that was my reality for this week. So I just jump in, you guys, I know everybody's been experiencing some really interesting stuff. And
I like the word heavy. And the other thing that I think we want.
Oh, we've got Lori
froze.
Oh dear. I think Lori froze.
She did. Somebody else can jump in.
There.
Oh, there you're back.
I think I froze. As usual. Yeah. So I was saying that usually light, medium, and heavy are good words to understand that everything is energy and everything is density. And when we think of fear, grief, anger, rage, those are the heaviest, most dense energies that we can feel. So they bring us down because it's like having bricks, like literally on your back. And as Joanne said, you need to rest. And the energies and the frequencies that are the lightest are joy and hope and love, compassion, understanding, empathy. And when we feel those, if you think of somebody you love, you go right to your heart, and there's a lightness there. There's a playfulness there that feels good. And in these times when we feel, and I know for me, this is what I've had to do, is when I'm feeling the heaviness, I have to do two things. First, I have to ask the question, is this me feeling from within my inner world, or am I just picking up the vibe of what's going on outside from other people? And most of the time it's the outside. So then I'm like, okay, I don't want that energy on me. I can see it, I can acknowledge it, but it's not of me. So I don't want to internalize it. I don't want it to affect my cells inside. So then I can go into a place of thinking of something that will give me joy and love. I can turn on some music and go dance, or I can take my dog outside and stand in the backyard, or I can go for a picture, or I can call somebody I love. And when I do those things, I can, what is called transmute the energy which means that if there is anything in me that's negative, that's, you know, the external stuff, I can get rid of it. And, you know, number one, don't watch the news. If you're seeing stuff on social media, scroll on past so that you don't feel somebody else's stuff that they're going through. Let them have the right and the honor to feel their feelings and move through their world in their way, but figure out where you're at and do you. So stay in your own lane. So I'll do me, you do you, and everything that way is okay, because all of us are experiencing everything. It's all the same stuff, but each and every one of us is going to be experiencing it from our own inner world. And when we recognize that that is all we need to be doing right now, is staying in our inner world and staying in our own lane, I have found that has been really helpful for managing my energies and keeping myself grounded. And of course, as I look at Lisa with the water and the nature, you know, and being outside, I've spent an immense amount of time in my bare feet in the dirt in my yard over the last week. I have been out in nature, and, you know, I touch my plants in the garden. I touch my plants inside just to ground. And I think, Lisa, you probably are experiencing that firsthand for all of us, right?
Definitely right now. It's a beautiful day today, which is lovely. And thanks for that, Lori. Yeah. I'm really at a place where I'm wanting to definitely know more with what's happening and still being able to honor myself as well. And it's curious. It's a curious time. And for me, it's just that sense of I'm wanting to be able to understand and have more compassion for what's going on in the world, and be able to be that space of good intention, of love, of caring, of compassion, as well as doing my own self-care, so that we're not spiraling into more fear, more anxiety, more of a lower energy that, you know, the world needs so much of a higher vibration and love for one another.
Such a great point, Lisa, because it you know, I think we're all walking that fine line, is how much do we want to stay informed? Like, I actually rely on Guy a lot, because he kind of taps into the news more, and then I go, okay, give me the review. What do I need to know?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
I kind of let him do the filtering,
Yes.
and then I kind of rely on him to pass it on to me, because I don't want to get stuck in all that. And yet I feel if I don't engage in any of it, then I have no clue what's going on, which isn't good either. So I totally relate to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I love what you said, Lori, about, you know, checking in, because, you know, when I was saying, oh, I feel so tired, and Guy wasn't feeling the same way. And yet he's a real empath. He picks up on so much outside stuff. And he said, do you feel like you're getting sick? And I said, no, it's not that kind of tired. I'm just feeling tired. And I feel like I just need to rest. I just need to recoup. And so checking in and saying, like, is that coming from within? That's a really good question, right? Because I think if a lot of us are feeling it, you got to ask that question, so you can do, hopefully, the path of what you need to do. Like, do I need to just get better sleep? Do I need to maybe whack down some extra vitamin C and some greens because my immune system is feeling a bit whacked or challenged? So, yeah.
I agree. Yeah, my mom's the news watcher, so I always just check in, what's happening, and get the Coles notes or some good friends as well.
Yeah.
And I feel really on point with myself when I'm really doing that self-care. And when I stray off of it, I feel that spiraling happening even in the world around me so much more. So, you know, bringing it back, like you were saying, Joanne, really, really being mindful of how we're caring for ourselves.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis with all the great strategies that we know.
Yeah. So maybe we can just share our little self-care routines, because I think that might be helpful for people.
I think that is a significant point too. Like, I've noticed the same thing, that when our outer world is uncertain, and if there was ever a time that it's been full of uncertainty, I would say this would be that time, creating some grounded certainty within, I have found immensely helpful. So like you said, Joanne, I've been sleeping more and I've been allowing it. So I sleep in as late as I need to, and I have the luxury. So not everybody has that. Some people have very young children. Some people have to be at their office desk at a certain time. I have the luxury of adding in extra sleep when I need it. I have the luxury of being able to get out in nature, you know, often. Now, all of us working from home, I would invite to say that no matter what your work situation or your home situation is, you can take your 15-minute coffee break from work and go out in your backyard or on your deck. If you're in an apartment or a condo with a balcony, you can get out in nature. But for me, my nutrition, my sleep, and my meditation have been absolutely essential tools. And 3 months in now, because we're 90 days plus into this, those are now entrenched habits that I love, that I know no matter what, I'll always carry forwards.
Yeah. Cheryl, I know you are really great with your workouts. And I'm going to say that's one area where personally I slip up. I love to walk every day, but that extra kind of workout routine is still, you know, it wavers. So if you want to just jump in there, because I know you're so good with that.
Yeah, I in general, I am pretty good with that. I do find it very difficult without the gym. So I'm finding different ways to get in exercise, and I'm definitely doing that. Do I feel like I'm getting the same level of workout when I'm at the gym because I do a lot of weights? I have to say no. But I definitely get up Monday to Friday basically and do a workout with the resistance bands, with just doing things with your own body weight, walking lunges, different things like that. And that truly is my therapy. I have to say I got up this morning, wasn't feeling much like doing it, but pushed myself, had a good leg day, and then went for a walk just before our call. And so I definitely am in a different mindset than I was before all of that. And I think that's what pushes me to do it every day, because I know that when I finish, I feel so much better than before. But sometimes it's an internal battle. Because I have to say the weight of the world in the last week and a half has been extremely heavy for me, extremely heavy, on top of what we're going through with the COVID. And even with COVID itself, I don't want to say I was in denial, but there was definitely a period of time where I thought, this isn't really bothering me. There's not a huge change for me. But I'll share a story with you all that I guess a week and a half ago, when in Quebec we started to open up a little more, and they said we could see people outside, maximum of 10 people. We took that as the go, and we contacted our friends, and we were invited to their place for dinner outside. And so I was very excited about that, to socialize, because we are very social and we go out often. We're actually at the restaurant every Friday and Saturday night, like forever. So this is a huge change for us. Huge change for me, cooking 7 days a week. And so when we arrived at their place, of course, they opened the gate because we're not touching anything, whatever. But when we arrive in the backyard, they have their table all set up beautifully. And then they have a separate table for us. And when I saw that, at first I was like, I felt like almost like a stab in the heart. I was hurt. Like I thought, what? They think there's something wrong with us? We can't sit with them? Like all these things were going through my mind and my head. And then quickly I said, well, no, Cheryl, this is the new normal right now. Like we have to protect ourselves and we have to respect the guidelines, because we don't want to cause problems for anyone. And as much as my husband and I seem to be absolutely fine, and we do see our children because my son still lives at home. I have a daughter that lives on her own but doesn't see anybody, so she is coming back and forth. But my husband is a diabetic, so he is more vulnerable according to what they're saying. So, you know, when we ended up having a lovely evening with them, but it truly was a whole new world. And anybody that knows me and spends any time with me knows that I need to go to the bathroom often. So there I am sitting outside and I'm saying, am I allowed to use your bathroom? Because I've got to go. Or I'm thinking in my head, do I have to get in my car and drive home to go, which is a good 10, 15 minutes. Wow. And she said, no, you can use the bathroom. I said, I promise I'll wipe everything down, which I did, because I had my own wipes with me as well in my purse. But all that to say, it is a new norm. And I just came back from a walk and ran into someone from the gym and found out she's a massage therapist, and where she works is in a medical building actually, and they're totally shut down. So she has no idea what's going to happen there. Her husband's a dentist and just went back to work. And she said, like, if you saw what he has to wear, she said it's unbelievable. So, you know, everyone's affected. She's asking me, how long do I think this is going to go on? Do we think this is going to go on till January? And then my friend that we had dinner with on July, I'll finish with that point, that we had dinner with a week and a half ago, she works for Pfizer. And they have been told by their upper management they will not return to their building until July 2021.
Oh my.
Until a vaccine is in place.
Wow.
So they will all be working at home until July 2021.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that is huge. And this is a perfect segue to the beautiful Judy Langmuir. Lovely to see you, darling.
Hello, lovelies. So good to see you all, and I'm so glad my client canceled. So I
Yay!
get to see you guys because it's been busy here, and yeah, it's a crazy world this week, especially. My heart just aches, you know, for what's going on in the States and the impact here. I've heard some really good speakers talking about racism and how, even just as a clinician, how it's all white people seeing white people. And there's so much pain out there, and we need to change that. And so I'm really, yeah, I'm doing great. I think figuring out this 2D world and how to manage your body and that exhaustion, Joe, that comes actually if you do use the screen, that there's a dissonance. I think I've told a couple of you, but here we are. I see you. I love you. I just am so happy to be connected to you guys. And my heart is full and my body says they're not here. And that dissonance is what's creating the exhaustion in our bodies. So kudos to you guys for listening to your bodies and having, you know, going to bed early, waking up late. I take naps sometimes in between clients. I'll just go lie down on the couch and I actually drift off, which is not me. If you know me, I don't, you know, once in a while. Jim is happy to take a nap any day. Me, not so much, because I have more energy and just keep going and just have a different.
You're like a little ever-ready bunny, Judy.
Ever-ready bunny. But I definitely honoring the body to make sure that it's, you know, treating it like a temple. Although treating it like a temple, I always like to balance it. So last night, Jim and I had pizza, fresh pizza, first time ever, like in 3 months. And it was like good for 3 bites. I had 2 pieces and then did a yoga class, and God, my body was not happy with that. Anyway, still good. You know, I survived it, and my body was happy for parts. My psyche was probably happier. But, you know, I'm really aware of how we have to take care to bring more to the screen so that people know our emotions, because they get lost in the 2D world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm aware, just some of you were talking, it made me think we have to know when to put our blinders on, because I work in the world of trauma, and that's constantly what we need to do, which is to not look at all that takes us out of our window and ability to tolerate things. So if we put blinders on and just notice even just this moment right here, that is really helpful in knowing that we can survive this moment, right?
Yeah.
It calms the system down. Then you can come back into your window, and then you can notice how you can deal with whatever you need to deal with, right?
Yeah, such a great point, Judy, because Lori and I were talking about this the other day, actually. My husband's reading a book right now called The Wellness Myth by a friend of his. And talking about, you know, his sort of study on happiness and different things. And so Lori and I were talking about happiness and, you know, your innateness to be happy and that kind of thing. And I said, well, you know, I think, and all of us I know work in around that focus, which is gratitude. and that does bring you into the present moment to actually just for even 5 minutes run through 10 things in your head that you're totally grateful for. And there's no space when you're in that space. There's no space for really anything else. And it is that being present, feeling that happiness. And sometimes it's just I'm laying there in my bed and I go, I'm so grateful for my bed. I'm so grateful for my pillow because it feels so good under my head. Like, it doesn't have to be these big, huge things. Like, a lot of times I think when people think about, oh, I have to sit there and think of all these things I'm grateful for, they better be big things. And they don't. And I actually got that from something else that I listened to, which is just whatever pops into your head. Like, I'm grateful for my fuzzy slippers, just anything that makes me feel that little warm bubble of happiness. So that I think we can all do simply, and that's maybe just a good tactic or good reminder to not make it complicated.
I think it's and I love what you're both saying, the keeping the blinders on. And I know one of the things that I've aspired to for a number of years now is the essence of Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now, which is that pure presence. And, with a head that typically was full of, a party of squirrels at any given moment, I didn't realize how the overculture had conditioned me to always be thinking of the next thing. And I wasn't acknowledging the moments. And, I can think of the big things like major achievements and milestones in my life and traumas that I've overcome, and not ever pausing to acknowledge and celebrate and moving back in. And I think part of it is just our overculture that conditions us to be moving forwards because the consumption machinery wants that to be happening. It's never enough. It's never enough. On to the next, on to the next. But we're being given such a gift of opportunity to learn and practice the art of beingness, because all we have is this moment. So Judy, you mentioned, like, can I, if I'm having a difficult time and my emotions are really challenging me, can I pause, do my breath work, but put those blinders on and say, what is, like, in this moment, am I safe? In this moment, is my health stable? In this moment, can I be okay with this moment? Can I just be okay in this moment? And in the most intense moments, that simple act brings me back into grounding and pure gratitude, pure appreciation, pure resonance with, like, we are all, you can call it, if I use, we are all a child of God. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience. And when we came in with our first breath, we came in as beings, and we've been conditioned to become doings. And what I love right now is that through the cacophony, I see the opportunity, for me anyway, to practice the art of being. And I have loved the gift that it is, because a week wouldn't have done it for me, but we're into 3 months now plus, and the length of time has offered that opportunity. And it's saved me in times where I've felt like I've been caught in that storm and I'm just being tossed about, like a ship in a storm.
Yeah.
I love that single-minded focus, like the pillow. I mean, my goodness, what a gift it is, because you could be sitting on a pallet floor, like a hard floor, with no pillow.
Yeah. Yeah. And Judy, maybe you could speak to this a little bit too, with just from your work and what you've noticed in a shift, because I'm just picking up on all the shift, even in my own psyche, with now this, sort of tentative, like Cheryl, you were saying about now Montreal has got, every area has kind of got their new protocols as to how much we can see people and what the recommended thing is. And I'm finding that I think that's creating another level of obviously discomfort and a little bit more chaos on top of everything else that's been going on the last 10 days. This opening up is creating another level of, well, okay, but wait a minute, because there's just a constant question about, what is right or what feels right. And I'm, of course, I'm seeing a lot of dissonance out in the public because there's just so many confusing, like some people are doing this and other people are not doing that. And, and all along, food producers have been making food, but has there been any, what's been going on with the people who've been making the food? How have they been handling the food? And yet that's been continuing on for weeks. So there's so much dissonance going on there. My sense is that there's been another level of that angstiness, and how do we keep managing? I mean, I think we keep managing the shifts in the same way, which is just trying to bring it back to the present moment. But I don't know. I'm just sort of talking off the top of my head here.
Yeah, I think it depends. It's I went for a walk yesterday and noticed that the young people were all playing basketball, no distancing. I happened to have to go to a store yesterday, and I haven't been out much. We've had good neighbors shop for us, and we've shopped online, and Jim's gone out. And when I went out, most people didn't have masks on.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I think in the world at large, it's I think most people are proceeding with caution, and except the young people who are diving in, some of them, and some are still being really courteous to not knowing. But just for me, for example, I have moved my office into my new space without signing a contract, waiting for, because it happened when COVID, before, like I didn't sign it before COVID happened. And sadly, 8 out of 10 of the offices are going to be emptied when their leases come up in August. And I think that the clinic I was going to move into, partly because some of them are saying I need to make a choice now, and I'm going to choose to retire early because why not? It's safer. It's, who knows? And that's a way of managing the future.
Mm-hmm.
And some were already kind of disgruntled by paying too much and wanted to move anyway. But now I think he's going to go into bankruptcy.
Mm.
So, the economic strife that's going on for many, many people who have those huge responsibilities. And I don't know Diane, hi Diane, and Marge, but I do know that for the rest of us, we are blessed to have home businesses. We're blessed to have some of us are able to be semi-retired. We are financially pretty stable. We're healthy as shit, right? So we're armed and doing the best that we possibly can, I think, generally.
Yeah.
So I think my worry goes out to other people and making sure that we can educate them and support them however it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, that's one of the reasons for our calls every week, is to try and just help people with as much good information as we can around, number one, I kind of think it was, a few weeks ago we were having, as we do every week, our conversations, but it was like, looking after ourselves first. Obviously, that's always a priority because it's, believe it or not, I was a flight attendant back in the day. Probably a lot of people still don't know that about me as a flight attendant and an in-flight manager. So I can authentically say, put your own oxygen mask on first before you help someone else, right? So that absolutely holds true, is that we have to look after yourself. It is not selfish. It is about self-care. And I think for women of a beautiful age, i.e. us, we still grew up in a generation where that wasn't really, it's always about looking after other people. And I'm so proud of my daughter, who is 31, and obviously partly to do with the work that she does, but she's always talking about self-care. And it seems to be a very strong culture among her friends and her colleagues that self-care is a priority, and they talk about it and they make it a priority, and it's a very fluid conversation all the time. Where I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but all of us, because of the work that we do, have, I think, moved into that in the last probably 10 to 15 years to really understand that that's important. And we've been able to shift our perspective that it isn't selfish, that it is a priority of looking after ourselves in order for the ripple effect to happen, which is the next level of looking after our family and our close friends well, right? Because our cup is full, so we can extend to the next circle, and then the next circle beyond that is in our local community.
There's,
So.
And I love what you're saying, and it's so, so true. And you're right. I'm part of the culture that was the rescuer, the codependent rescuer, the overgiver, and I paid a hefty price, over the last few years. And one of the terms that I like to call this little staycation is the Great Awakening. And for those, I did my master's in change theory, and everybody finds change hard because we are physiologically wired to move to homeostasis, to move to what we like to call our comfort zone. That is the human condition. But the only way to move through life, which is the oxymoron of our existence, is to grow and change, and to step into opportunities to grow and change and become that best version of ourselves. And so finding that balance between the uncomfortable zone, the growth zone, and enjoying a little bit of time in the comfort zone, and figuring out like, where are the anchors that I can stay safe and solid and comfortable while engaging in this change, I think is the key. And for those people who are able and willing to not resist, because resistance is not acknowledging the present moment. And the more we resist, the more stress we place on our physical body. And that's where we see all these issues showing up, digestive issues, mental health issues. I mean, there's a whole variety for those, but one of the things that I'm noticing, and I guess it's a passion of mine, is the cost to society, the mental health cost to society, I feel is going to be the greatest devastation of all through all of this. There's so many things that are coming, as a result of this little staycation everyone's in, whatever you want to call this period of time, this historical period of change. I think and I pray that more and more attention is given sooner than later to the need to address, like, what is mental health? How do you, at a nourishment level, address mental health? Like, you can impact your health, and we talk about this all the time with your gut health and the foods you eat and the things you watch and you listen to and the people you keep company with. On a very simple, basic level, you can greatly improve your mental health situation from those things that everybody has, well, not everybody, I don't want to say everybody, that lots of people have access to, but are not aware of. And so it's bringing that information out there. That's really hard to do because it's certainly not showing up in the mainstream media that most people are watching. I've seen very, very, very little throughout this entire time on how do you take care of your physical health? How do you take care of your immune health? How do you take care of your mental health? And unfortunately, I think those are the greatest tragedies of all, that mainstream media has not spent the bulk of their time focusing on those positive ways to help support people.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's been played down quite a bit, unfortunately.
You just gave me a great idea for my Instagram, because I do take quotes that are mindful and try to be grounded and supportive that way. I was just thinking I'm going to do like top 10 tips or something, and because I do, between my pictures, I do quotes. I think I'll do some of the basics, because I do know that lots of people don't even know. I've had clients who say, wow, I just realized I wasn't drinking as much water. And when I started drinking, I read somewhere I had to drink half my weight of, in ounces minimum. And boy, like, I felt better when I did that. 2 days later, it's like, oh, I'm kind of calmer, right? Like, lots of people just don't hold that, even when they hear it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. That's great. Thanks, Lori.
Yeah.
And actually, that's a good reminder for me on my Instagram as well, because I do an awful lot on mindset and staying grounded. That's sort of my theme all the way through. but it's been a long time since I've done that same thing, Judy. Let's go back to the very basics of, you know, we are 75 to 80% water. And if you want to do one thing only, like, you know, in this certain situation, I think focusing on just one thing, what one thing can you do? Like water. Let's just start with water.
And,
You
and
ladies have your water with you?
At
At the moment, I always do, and I got to the computer and went, "Ah, darn, I forgot to grab my water." So
Well, I'm cleansing today, so.
I already had.
Yeah, I'm doing a lovely cleanse day today too. And you know, it just reminds me continually that when we really gift, you know, number one, you know, we all use our beautiful nutritional program. But when you really are able to bring such a gift to all those 30 trillion plus cells, what a difference it really makes us feel, you know, our physical body and then our mental health and all of that. And just today having my peach mango, I was sitting on the dock and just kind of looking, and I'm going, oh my gosh, it feels like I'm physically being able to kiss every cell in my body with such love just by doing this one great thing to support it. It was just a really grateful moment. So
Yeah. Well, and it's just so important. I'm rereading probably for the third time, because when I looked at it, you know, my chicken scratch and then my highlighter and then, you know, my underlining. So I know I've been in that book more than once. And it's Love Your Liver by Sandra Cabot, who's an MD out of Australia. And I've had this book for 20 years plus. And it was probably that book that I read way back in early of my studies where, you know, I'm always emphasizing the importance of the liver function in the body. And I had a great conversation with a director of Rocky Mountain Analytical out of Calgary that does lots of different tests. And he said there's now new papers showing, you know, like the really intricate role of bile acids, which is, of course, bile is what the liver produces. So, and here we are with the, you know, like liquor stores have not closed, you know, they've been kept open as an essential service, and people are lining up to get their, you know, and they have been since day one, and overeating sugar. And, you know, I mean, it's all been, you know, kind of comforting in that way, Lori, when we're talking about our comfort zone, you know, baking more and doing all those things, which are good things, but then we're also kind of maybe veering off into, you know, heavier sugar consumption and feeling stress and anxiety, we're not sleeping as much, we're spending too much time in front of the TV or computer. And yeah, you know, I think a lot of people are, you know, all of that is sort of piling up to create this extra chaos physiologically, mentally. And I was super disturbed to hear that a neighbor of ours at our cottage, her grandson committed suicide a couple of weeks ago. And this is, I'm hearing bits and pieces of this guy was like 23, 24 years old. And so I'm really feeling concerned about what you said, Lori, the mental health stuff. And Judy, you would probably have even maybe some early statistics on that as to how, you know, for those people who are feeling at wit's end for whatever reason, they're not coping, and gosh, not turning to somebody to talk, reach out, you know, that's a tough one. So,
it actually was mentioned on the news last night because there was a gentleman in Ontario that flew a small plane, and he flew it into the side of a bank on purpose and committed suicide. And they have 6 children, and she was saying that this whole staycation has just completely changed his life because everything he does is outside. And because, you know, we were locked down at home and not able to do all the things he loves to do, like sports and play with his friends and do all these things, it completely affected him and how he lived his life. And so he was out with his plane and on purpose flew it into a side of a rock bank and killed himself. And they were saying on the news report that she has been recently in contact with 9 other widows that are going through the same thing from this. So there has been a little bit of highlight on it, maybe, surely not enough. We're not definitely hearing about all of it for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know how we can help affect some change to that, other than if anyone ends up listening to this call and when we share it out there, is to just really encourage people that if you're not coping well, reach out, talk to somebody, find somebody that you can talk to, whether it's a good friend or someone professional. Like, the resources are there. But I know with mental health or depression issues, people don't feel maybe that they can talk to somebody because it puts them in too vulnerable a state to do that.
Yeah, there's
So
a lot of
just to-
stigma.
So I
Yeah,
just got
Judy.
statistics because I'm too busy doing and napping to look up statistics, but I did it just now. That they looked at people from April 24th to May 11th, and they did a questionnaire. 46,000 Canadians did a questionnaire on the impact of COVID-19 on your mental health, and it said 24% reported fair or poor mental health, 31% good mental health, and nearly half, 46%, reported very good or excellent mental health. So, and the previous data was that it was 8% reported fair or poor, so now it's up to 24. So it's certainly rising. And I think it's so important, Joe, that we all reach out to anyone who we worry about, if they're alone, especially, but if they've got some depression, if they've lost a job, right? If they are not coping because they are stuck inside and they're an extrovert, to be able to figure out how to support them. And often reaching out helps us.
Yes.
It helps us feel that we're doing something and contributing, and it's meaningful, and it helps our mental health as well.
Yes.
I was going to say, when you talked about laughter, or when I was thinking about laughing and how important that is, because physiologically, when you laugh, there's something called laughter therapy or yoga laughter or something.
Yeah.
That
Yoga.
you know what you do when you laugh is you breathe. And so making yourself laugh, right? Sometimes we make ourselves drink water. We go, how can we make ourselves laugh? But making yourself laugh actually creates all this capacity, right? And when we are worried or depressed or down, it's often a collapsing feeling, right? Either a shutdown or a tightening, right? And girding. So being able to, so I've found this really super Aussie series on Netflix called Offspring. Check that out. Hysterical for we women, especially, I think. Very funny. I laugh out loud at the craziness of this family that's so dysfunctional but so loving. So just
For that.
Love it. I used to find that I don't think they have any new series right now, but it's two seasons on Netflix. Was Life in Pieces as well. I don't know if you know that series.
No.
And 4 little snippets of a family that all live very close together, and they're all in each other's lives quite a bit, and just the funny stuff that comes out. That's a good giggle one too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, ladies, for the conversation.
I'd love to read something that I found this morning
that
I think kind of ties into some of what we were talking about, but you're seeing a lot of posting on the internet about people want to cancel 2020, that it just has been an incredible.
Oh, you froze, Cheryl.
Oh dear.
I don't know if you can hear us, Cheryl, but you froze.
She looks very cute.
Yeah, it's a good
Frozen.
freeze moment. Well, while we're waiting for Cheryl, I'll say that being someone who does live alone with my kids clear across the country, my 2 dogs have been my hugs, my physical contact, my soulmates, but also my laughter. Mikey, his mission and purpose in my life is to make me laugh on the daily, and I can see it in his eyes. And if I don't laugh enough, he just pounces. And it's been such a gift to be able to have that and to appreciate so much that presence and that connection, because we are human and we need to connect. And I think that's part of, reminders that we are of the earth. And so connecting with animals, connecting with plants is just, it's not as good, but it's still valuable for the connection piece, that if you are alone, go out in nature and hug the damn tree, stand in the dirt. It does work.
Yeah.
I don't know if Marge is wanting to join and add any tips here or any thoughts,
Okay,
Yeah,
you
Marge,
can
did
join us,
you wanna-
Marjorie.
because I don't know you, Marge, and you're muted and listening, but we welcome you.
Unmute you there.
Okay,
There she is. Hi, Marjorie.
Hi.
So glad you
Love
could
to
make
see
it.
your face.
I'm just listening and enjoying the conversations. Thank you very much.
Good.
And
You're
Um,
yeah, I'm going to be quiet this call, but I'm absorbing everything.
Great.
Awesome. Where are you, Marge?
Oh, I'm laying on the couch.
No,
I'm laying on. Oh,
Where do you live?
in Collingwood.
Lovely.
Yeah,
Lovely.
we moved up here in September, and it's very nice up here.
Oh yeah.
Lots of nature. The water's here. I'm trying to walk every day, get out. Yeah, it's been a struggle, but I guess it's the same for a lot of people, and it's so true about limiting your time on the news and social media, because it's so easy to get sucked in.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I'm working on that.
Good.
I realize it's important for my mental health to limit myself to that and get out and get out to nature. I am retired, so I guess that's a good thing.
Yep. Yep. You're
Um,
lucky in that way.
Yeah. Well, Collingwood, being right on the bay there, and lots of good spots to go out on walking trails. It's a pretty walkable place.
Mhm.
Yes.
I recall.
It's
I've
wonderful.
been there for a while, but
Thanks for giving us a snippet, Marge. And
You're
Cheryl,
welcome, Judy.
you're welcome. Cheryl, I'm going to have to jump off before your beautiful poem. I'm glad you're back, and share it with everyone, but I need to go get ready for the next client. So kisses to all of you.
Lovely to see you, Judy.
Great to see you.
I'm
Yeah.
going to post it, Judy, so you'll see it.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Lovely.
Sorry
Bye.
about that. My internet died. So
Well, you didn't. That's good.
you were frozen first in this. Great.
well, I was maybe, but you guys were all frozen and I was talking away.
Oh no, there you go. Go ahead.
My-
Cheryl, if you
I
wanna-
went offline. Okay, it says, what if 2020 isn't canceled? What if 2020 is the year we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw, that it finally forces us to grow. A year that screams so loud, finally awakening us from what our ignorant slumber. A year we finally accept the need for change, declare change, work for change, become the change. A year we finally band together instead of pushing each other further apart. 2020 isn't canceled, but rather the most important year of them all.
Love it.
So
Beautiful,
That beautiful.
beautiful.
Thank
Really-
you for sharing.
It really struck me, so I thought I'd like to share it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
would you please share that in our Love Your Body group?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
beautiful. And that's something wonderful to get out and share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely.
And this conversation has uplifted me, as it always does every week. Beautiful, beautiful souls. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the
Thank
warm
you.
weather in the east, which we don't have out here in the west. So
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's finally decent today. The last 2 days I've had the heat on. It's been so cold.
Yes,
And
it
last week we had 35, so it's ridiculous.
is. The ebbs and flows.
Yes.
Yes. Marjorie, do you have a little bit of a garden at your new place?
I know we have no grass or anything, but I bought plants for the front porch, so
Oh, lovely.
I'm tending them, and it feels good.
It
yeah,
does. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. Wonderful.
Thanks,
Well,
Lisa.
we'll talk soon.
We will. God bless everyone.
Thank
Okay.
you. Same to
take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.